Hi guys, Tom here. I'm here in our beautiful back garden and I'm here to tell you 5 things that you need to know about St. George. Number 1, wasn't his feast day last week? Well, ordinarily St. George's Day would be celebrated on the 23rd of April. But because of when Easter was this year, and because of how important St. George is in this country, the feast was moved to the 30th of April. Number 2, there was no dragon. Sorry guys, the dragon myth, legend, whatever you want to call it, that appeared in the story of St. George in the 1100s and has no connection at all to the story of St. George that had existed for at least 800 years before that. Number 3. So what do we know about St. George? Well, he was a soldier of some form and he lived around the year 300. We know that he was persecuted for his faith. There's a little bit of evidence that exists about that, and we know pretty much nothing else. It's kind of awkward really. No dragon. Not a lot to tell. Number 4. He was, however, really important to a lot of people. He was an example of an early martyr of the church. He was so connected with his faith that he was willing to die for it. And yet we've lost all of the evidence of that because we want to focus on him as a man who slayed a dragon. Really, St. George's story is one of someone who lived their faith, who was so connected and so assured of their faith that they were willing to die for it. And that is a much better story and a much better memory to hold than any story about killing dragons and rescuing princesses. It might sound fanciful, but it's not true, and what is true about St. George's life is arguably much more impressive. Number 5. What we do know is that he is so important to so many people all around the world. Not only is he patron saint of England, but he is patron saint of a huge number of other places, organisations, and various different things. I'm going to put a list up here now and give you some time to read all those. Quite the list. So, St. George, a man who lived over 1800 years ago and died for his faith. Someone who was so convinced by Jesus that he was prepared to give up his life for him. And I think that's a much better story than any story involving dragons and princesses. So maybe this week, focus on the people who inspire you in your faith journey, the people who draw you closer to God, and what their stories mean to you. That's all we've got time for today. My name's been Tom. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.